But I want to get into my original post. This was my original post that made me make the video, because women read my post and was still attacking the men when I was literally trying to put accountability on both sides. Let's get into the post. I said, I like how infidelity in the black community is a one-way conversation. Granddaddy had a family down the street, right? Most of y'all aunts and uncles got different dads, but he treated them the same and never said shit. We like pulling the curtains back on the men, but it's hella bloodlines in that house. We'll never fix issues when we can't be honest. At some point, both sides got to acknowledge that they ain't shit and do the work to fix it. Our grandfathers was not the sole problem. And that is, to me, one of the biggest things that I see in the black community, because that's all I care about. Me, I look at myself. I'll take myself, right? Growing up, I always heard that men want shit, or black men want shit specifically. Me hearing that, I had to acknowledge, okay, it was some things that my granddads was doing that wasn't conducive to a peaceful household. So I would listen and learn and say, okay, I'm not doing that. Okay, I'm not doing that. Okay, I'm not doing that. So now that I'm an adult, I don't do those things. Not only because I heard it and was like, okay, that shit didn't work. Also, when I got older, I started reading the Bible. Okay, God said don't do that shit either. So that's one. But you got that because you heard the critiques that was going on from the sisters and the other men in the community, basically telling you like, okay, these are some of the qualities that men have that don't work. So I'm pretty sure, just like myself, other men was hearing those same conversations and said, hey, I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna get my lesson. I'm gonna do what's right in the community. I'm not gonna sell drugs. I'm not gonna make baby mothers. I'm not gonna be doing all these different things. And you look at the numbers amongst black men, it's a lot more black men doing that today. We are not the same dudes that they be talking shit about. That's not us. But we didn't hear no critique of no women back then. That's the point. So when you get into today's day and age, when you got the men and the women, they trying to see how to make a relationship work. You got a man coming in there. A lot of the brothers be very patient with these horrible sisters. They very patient. Why? Because they understood it was some work that they had to do to become the man that they are. But the women don't never feel like they have any issues. Why? Because they never heard the critiques. They never heard, hey, this was some stuff back in the day that y'all was being taught. That was some bullshit. But, you know, we just gonna keep on blaming the men. That was the point of my video. That was the point of me going into illustrate a story on how this is some of the stuff our forefathers was going through, and they just never said anything. Because let me get back to the bottom statement, because anybody that watch my channel know that I shoot it down, right straight down the middle. I don't play games with the men or the women. I don't. I said at some point both sides gotta acknowledge they ain't shit, and that's the point of a lot of different situations in the black community. We don't like to acknowledge our faults. Let's go back to the Bible. Let's go back to the Bible. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. Examine yourselves, whether you be in the faith. Now the point that I want you to say, examine yourselves, because a lot of times men and women have a problem examining themselves. But this is the thing. Most men that I've seen, especially like you talked about Kevin Samuel's show. When you go back to Kevin Samuel's show, when he was checking the men, a lot more of those men were receptive, because why? When they heard the critique, when they was being critiqued while that person was speaking, they can pinpoint, okay, damn, I do that. Okay, yeah, I'm wrong for doing that. Yeah, I'm doing this. I need to change this. But the women who rarely hear that type of critique, they was pushing against it like what they was hearing wasn't true. That's the issue. You got to acknowledge your bullshit. And a lot of times in the black community, we can't get that conversation started because they don't want to believe the experiences of a lot of men. The problem was a lot of those men never told their story. One, they died a lot earlier than the women did. Let's be honest. Granddaddy died, grandma kept the house, everybody was coming to Big Mama's house. Then you start hearing a lot more bullshit going on by granddaddy that you didn't get to hear his side of the story. But in the black community, we don't never ask the men. We don't ask those questions. How many women really ask, hey, why did grandma do that? Why was it okay for grandma to be with Mr. Charles? We didn't ask that. In a lot of situations in the black community, you will give that grace. You want to know why. The why is a big thing in the black community for the women. Well, why did she do that? You didn't ask that shit for the men. You didn't ask that. And I'm not the only one saying this. It's a lot of men that notice this and are speaking on it now.
Y'all need to acknowledge the sin of y'all mamas, man. Y'all ain't just picked that shit up off the street, man. Y'all learned that shit somewhere. The same way y'all sit up here and say about me and, oh, yo daddy, da-da-da-da.
It's a lot of men that notice that this go on. But you know, it is what it is. So to make my point plain on why I made that original video, or why I made that video, it was because the women didn't want to acknowledge that women was doing some bullshit too. How do you examine yourself and try to make sure you be your best version if you don't even want to hear from the experiences of other people to try to make sure, okay, I don't do that. Let me check myself and make sure I don't do that. Actually, let's get some more out the Bible right quick. This is Romans chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime was written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So people say all the time, they say experience is the best teacher. I think that's a lie. I don't believe that. I feel like other people's experience is the best teacher. If I can look at your situation and I saw that shit didn't work, it's better for me to learn from your situation and do it a different way than to do it exactly how you did it, just so I can get the experience and say, oh, no, I don't do that. That's what the Bible's saying. I'm gonna read it again. This is Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever thing was written aforetime was written for our learning. Because, yeah, we supposed to learn from the scriptures, right? We supposed to read about what was going on back then and fix our lives, right? But also, when you growing up in the world, when you growing up, you see your mothers, you see your grandfathers, you see all these different people living their lives and going through things. You want to learn from that too. If I could see a family dynamic that didn't work in my family for generations, I don't need to fucking try to do that to say, oh, nah, I know that don't work. I see that shit don't work. That's the point. So as men, we've been hearing for a long time throughout these different generations, you were hearing things that whether it was true or false, you was hearing it. You was hearing the critiques. But on the women's side, you wasn't really hearing that enough. You wasn't hearing that. You wasn't hearing about the bad behavior of our grandmothers. You weren't hearing about the bad things they was doing to our grandfathers. You wasn't hearing that shit. So the women today grow up thinking that, oh, the women were just so oppressed. The women was just so docile, like they were just, everything was happening to them, but they weren't doing nothing in return. They wasn't doing nothing to spark none of that stuff off. But a lot of our grandmothers, when you pull them layers back, your grandma was a catalyst to a lot of that bullshit. But you know, it is what it is. I want to go back to my original post. I'm gonna read the whole post. I like how infidelity in the black community is a one-way conversation. Please stop. And please don't act like this not a thing. When we talk about infidelity in the black community, everybody just swear that black men cheat way more than black women. When, let's be honest. Can we be honest? Let's be honest. Granddaddy had a family down the street, right? Most of y'all aunts and uncles got different dads, but he treated them the same and never said shit. And a lot of people don't know to this day that the man they think is their dad is not their dad because he never treated them any different. They don't have different names. They get treated the same. Ain't no reason to suspect or even think that that's not your dad. It's a sad truth. It is what it is. We like pulling the curtains back on the men, but it's hella bloodlines in that house. We'll never fix the issues when we can't be honest. At some point, both sides gotta acknowledge they ain't shit and do the work to fix it. Our grandfathers was not the sole problem. And I don't give a damn how you want to slice it. In the black community, that's what we've been hearing. We've been hearing that our forefathers, our granddads was the sole problem in the black community. I don't give a damn how you want to slice it. And if you come on here trying to say that that's not the truth and how it's framed in the black community, you're a liar, man. Period. If you want to come on here and say that that's not how it went in the black community, you're a liar. And I'm not responding to you no more. But your second comment, I like what you were saying, because that's the vein that I was in the first place. But I had to do something to get the conversation started, because for some reason, when I was shooting it down the damn middle, the women want to push it. No, we gonna push that shit back to the middle of the table. Because you got stuff to fix the same way I got stuff to fix. But the problem is I'm fixing my shit and the women ain't. That's the problem. But you know, it is what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. I'm out.